Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of February 27th through March 5th of 2023. Alright, so this week we have a series of new beginnings. We have some conjunctions with both Venus and Mercury. So around midweek, Mercury will go into progressive Aquarius, which is adding to this visionary energy that's so good to cultivate this lunar month. Just last week, we had that new beginning, that new moon in Aquarius. So it is a great week to implement and really move this energy forward, especially the early part of the week, because we will be in the first quarter moon, which is good for action, initiative, and again, integrating the energies of the lunar cycle, which started about a week prior. So with Mercury in Aquarius, great for vision, thinking outside the box. Also here around Wednesday, Venus, the planet of our values and enjoyments and relationships, will be over expansive Jupiter. So there could be a nice new beginning here for some of the enjoyments of a bit of free-spirited energy, some of the adventurous energies, some of the more philosophical and abstract stuff, which can be fantastic. Then Mercury does go over Saturn on Thursday, so there's some grounding taking place with our minds and our communications, kind of the opposite to that Jupiter with Saturn here, but that can be a very constructive time as well. All right, so that's the most important stuff. And then over the weekend, we have some lunar placements and Venus over Chiron, so maybe a little bit of healing energy and some new beginnings with that. All right, so let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here is the sky for this week. We're going to start first with Monday, February 27th. And as you can see here, we are using the visible sky on this channel, which is very different from a mainstream astrology. You will notice a lot of the sign placements that I'm mentioning are different. For example, maybe you think that you've heard that Mercury is already in Aquarius. And so the signs do change when you do use the visible sky, and this is very different from mainstream astrology. So if you are new to this channel, definitely check out that link down below for more information. All right, so let's do a bit of a recap coming into this week. As you can see, the main theme is that of new beginnings, conjunctions. Conjunctions do symbolize the beginning of new cycles, in this case particularly with Venus and Mercury. Venus being our enjoyments and values and how we connect with the world and others, and Mercury, how we think and also connect with the world, but more in a kind of communicational sort of sense. So our mind and communication. So a lot of that about midweek. But coming into the week, we are in the first quarter moon, which is a great time to challenge ourselves to implement the lunar cycle's energy that started about a week prior when we had that new moon in Sidereal Aquarius. But the first quarter, we'll probably be feeling it coming into this week, probably a little bit over this previous weekend as well. But all in all, good for that action. Squares are the first challenges of the lunar cycle, but good to challenge ourselves. And in this way, it's really the rubber meets the road, time for implementation. Things can get done. It's very constructive, good to challenge ourselves. And of course, this kind of doing of the square energy doesn't necessarily mean external doing as well. It's just good to challenge ourselves, maybe also spiritually or with personal development and things like this. So this is where the things really do start to get implemented in the lunar month. And then in about a week from the beginning of this week, so around Monday or Tuesday of next week, we will have the full moon, which will be the heightened energy of the lunar month, which we'll start to feel as we go through the later part of this week, because the later part will kind of ease up off of that first quarter moon. We'll start to build some momentum, get some of that wind in our sails as we approach the heightened energy of the month. But with that being said, a bit of a recap. The sun is in a progressive Aquarius where we had that last new moon, and so the focus still is on vision, how we can express that individual self-expression, our unique, take on life, our eccentricities, and also to be a part of something greater, maybe also focused on community or the world at large, can be a great time to do so. Mercury will be shifting into here around Tuesday and Wednesday. So finishing Capricorn, we've had Mercury really in grounded Capricorn, which has been grounding our minds and communications. We're still going to have that this week, even after Mercury goes into Aquarius, because Mercury will pass over Saturn, again, grounding the mind, grounding the communication. So there's certainly still a lot of that type of energy there as well. And Venus, that planet of how we connect with the world and others, is in receptive Pisces, has been. And so it is good to be enjoying a little bit of that going with the flow, or a little bit of receptivity. And we do get a bit of that buoyancy there with Venus over Jupiter, I'll be talking about here shortly. And Mars is still taking his time in Taurus, will be through parts of next month as well. And so slow and steady wins the race, so to speak. Mars is our actions, it's our drive, it's our assertiveness. But Taurus, the bull, is one step at a time. So it's been a good time to reconnect with our inner resources, our inner strength, inner groundedness, and move things forward in that sort of manner. So still good to be implementing that, as it has been for a very long time now, about the past 6 months with that transit, over 6 months, I believe, with that very long retrograde of Mars and Taurus. But yeah, let's go ahead and break this down each day first. Starting first with Monday, we will have the moon in Taurus, activating this resourceful energy here, probably Monday and Tuesday. And so, great for that. Great for connecting to the slow and steady elements of life. The moon is exalted here, likes to be here. So it could be good to, enjoy these things like nature or the simple life or some comforts or some sensual energy. And even, again, anything that requires that inner resources, self-reliance, self-efficacy, the belief in ourself, inner strength, right, is great to be cultivated here Monday and Tuesday. And this really is the square energy. It is where we can, again, challenge ourselves, because these two signs of Aquarius and Taurus square each other naturally, meaning they're very different. And so there is this visionary, progressive, unorthodox energy, high frequency air energy of Aquarius that's just very different from the earth energy that we'll particularly feel Monday, Tuesday of this week. And so how can we integrate both? They're both about values, the fixed signs. And so how can we cultivate our future values, collective values, communal values, and also our natural values? Earth, nature, resources, again, air and earth in this case can be integrated, and anything with that intention, particularly around Monday and Tuesday, is fantastic. All right, once we get to about that midweek, we'll start to have some of these conjunctions, starting with Mercury, starting to go into Aquarius. And so our minds are going into that visionary side of things about early to midweek, and great for this utilization, thinking outside the box, innovation, vision, unorthodoxy in how we come up with information, knowledge, or learn things. Our communications will be more flavored in this way as well. So that's adding to a lot of this lunar cycle involving Aquarius at the moment. But Mercury will be getting close to Saturn, and so they'll conjoin that midweek, particularly strong here around the Thursday time period. Still integrating some of that Capricorn responsible discipline energy, but we could notice a new beginning with that. Anything that does involve our minds or communications that we do want to, build for the long term, or maybe do productively or professionally, or we know will just take time to learn or, communicate or use the language or what have you. This could be a great new beginning to set for the year, with these conjunctions. So any intentions around grounding the mind, communication, maybe doing some long-term achievements or goals with this stuff, with this Mercury stuff, is fantastic. Hear about that midweek. But Venus is also playing a role here. So both Wednesday and Thursday here, Venus will be over expansive Jupiter. Now this is a very different energy from Saturn. Saturn is more of the contraction, whereas Jupiter is more of the expansion. And so when it comes to the Venus side of life, again, our enjoyments, how we connect, our relationships, this is more on the still kind of spiritual. Again, Pisces, it's been more about finding the value of receptivity and going with the flow and unconditionality. But that's what Jupiter's been expanding this year. So Venus over Jupiter will be expanding some of those enjoyments and values and relationship energies, and is starting a new beginning with that. So it's always good to stay nice and grounded with Jupiter. It can be a bit buoyant, but in conjunctions it tends to be more balanced and more neutral. Plus, since we also have the grounding energies of Saturn, I think that's going to ground things out as well. And so I like to see when Jupiter and Saturn are both involved in something, because they are the polarities to each other. Again, the contraction and the expansion. And so where it's good to bring in some optimism with Saturn to help balance that out, it's also good to bring in some groundedness with Jupiter to balance that out as well. But that's the associations, is our mind and communications more on the grounding side of things, and our values and relationships more on the expansive side of things. And both signifying new beginnings for the year. Any intentions around these things are great. Again, with Mercury, Saturn, mind communication, long-term goals. With Venus over Jupiter, perhaps some new beginnings to be open-minded about some possibilities involving our values, maybe even resources, since Venus rules Taurus, and also those relationships. And so it's good to be open-minded about this stuff, to see possibilities and potentials about what we can attract to us, about what we want to connect to in life, what we want to enjoy in life. And in this way, it can be a very powerful force and help usher in these yearly new beginnings with that side of our lives. All right, so very much midweek here. The moon will be in Gemini both Wednesday and Thursday, so it is adding to that Mercury kind of energy of learning and communication. So Gemini is great to be inquisitive, curious, exchanging with others. Gemini, the twins, it's all about synthesizing, synergizing information. It can be very mental or cerebral, but also a bit social and communicative as well. So good to cultivate some of that energy as a backdrop to that middle part of the week. All right, and then once we do get to this Friday time period, so both Friday and the early part of Saturday, we'll have the moon in Cancer. And so there is this protective energy around the Friday-Saturday time period. Cancer is more about the emotional side of things, connecting to our feelings, the past, our roots, and just what's more personally meaningful to us in life. And just on a minor note, there could be some healing energy there these couple days, since Venus will be over Chiron, and Chiron is that healer comet. And so even though it's minor in its effects, it depends. For those of you who are very strong ophiucuses, have very strong ophiucus placements, or just healers in your life, or personally or professionally, this can certainly be getting activated. So it's seeing the value of the healer energies, and also bringing in some of that healing energy to those Venus things, like our connections in life, our enjoyments, our values, and our relationships. So new beginning there, and any intentions around that healing side of things on that Venus level is fantastic. Basically both Friday, especially Friday, but even into Saturday as well. And then once we do get to the later part of Saturday, the moon will shift into Leo, and preparing for the second full moon that we'll have in Leo, which will be early next week. And in this case, getting into some of that self-expression. So this is where we had the last full moon, at least in part. It was at the very beginning of Leo, but another status check around the corner to see how is that expressive side of ourselves. Are we doing what we love? Are we expressing ourselves? Are we creating? Are we focused on the things and people we love and our passions? And so this is great to cultivate leading up to that full moon, late Saturday and into Sunday. We'll also have a little bit of support with the sun sextiling Uranus, mostly on Monday of next week, but that can kind of give some support to that self-expression as well. All right, everyone, so that is the week in a nutshell. Put simply, is the middle part of the week has these conjunctions. These are new beginnings. It's involving both Venus of values and relationships and Mercury of our mind and communications. Venus is the one getting a little more of that buoyant and possibilities and expansion energy, while Mercury is getting more of the contraction and work or long-term energies. And so when it comes to enjoyments and connections in life, a bit of expansion. And when it comes to learning, the mind and communication, a bit of contraction. And in both ways, we should have a nice balance with this. And any new intentions for the year in this context is fantastic to utilize. But we are in the third quarter moon coming into the week, so it is good for that action and integration to move things forward. Then starting to notice a little bit of wind in our sails as we start to get to the later part of the week, and then we come up to that full moon early next week. All right, so everyone have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're not yet signed up for MTZ Insiders, it is a free newsletter. We do get these videos released first before YouTube and extra content not normally released on YouTube, such as articles and sometimes extra videos and things like that. So if you're not yet signed up, there's a link down below for that. But again, have a great week, everyone, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.